it's really cool to sit with somebody that you respect, right? Somebody whose journey that you've been able to watch. And literally, we met Dina here in Atlanta at Velvet Underground, which is a part of Hard Rock Cafe right here on Peachtree. And she came through and helped judge one of our first shows here in Atlanta. And
what year was that?
What was that? 08?
Yeah.
07, 08.
Before y'all were born.
Some of them really, which is crazy. And I know she looks 20. She's really 19. And we're Virgos.
Yeah.
So we link up on that too. But
You know what it is.
yeah, I mean, you know, so Dina is just, you being here is dope. And I just wanted to have a conversation. Because first of all, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for all of us, but specifically for me, and just extending and opening your home and your business and everything to me. So I don't know if I ever really expressed that to you, because she's a big deal, but she'll never act like it. You know what I'm saying? So let's rewind a little bit back to those intern days. First of all, let's take it back a little further. What made you want to get involved in this crazy business?
It is truly my love for music. I wouldn't be doing it for any other reason. If I knew it was going to be this hard, I might have picked something else. But I love music, and I was like, I want to be in the music business any way that I can. I started off doing what a lot of people, I think, maybe in this room and everybody in the industry want to do, which is be the artist, right? I was a singer-songwriter, but then I quickly realized I was better on the business side. And so I left the creative side and then worked with creatives for the rest of my career.
So she gets asked that question a lot, right? But what people don't ask is, where's the demo tape?
You won't be hearing it. But it's out there. I was actually really good writer because I started off writing poetry when I was a kid. And so I feel like it's almost kind of very similar with songwriting. Songwriting is a craft that you have to like really develop practice every single day. And I loved it, but I wanted to, it just was moving faster for me on the business side. And then I had to be honest with myself that I'm like, okay, you know, I'm good, but I'm not the greatest singer in the world, right? And so there's other people with better talent than me. You have to be honest with yourself at some point.
I mean, Atlanta's a hyper-competitive market.
Yeah.
What is it about Atlanta? Because you've been here most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about this city that is special? What is it about this city that attracts so many amazing creatives?
So it's just something different in Atlanta. Like I think we're the home for creatives, and especially for hip hop. I think that for the last 20 to 30 years, we have been the lead of pop culture, and that includes music, dance, lingo, style, trends, all those kind of things. Atlanta just has that special sauce that I think you don't have anywhere else. And it's, I don't know, I think that talent is attracted to this place, but it's grown here too. And I think a lot of it comes out of the struggle of, especially for hip hop, it was like the struggle of people's lives. That's what, you know, not only are we celebrating the 50th of hip hop, but we're also celebrating the 20th of trap music, which I got to see grow from its beginning stages with Tip, with T.I., who's the originator. And I don't know, Atlanta's a very special place for creatives. It's not necessarily the same for the business side, because you get a little bit more business done in like a LA and New York, but I think for being in touch with culture and having your like finger on the pulse of what's hot, you come here to do that.
What made Def Jam, a New York hip hop label, say we need to go invest in the South and specifically have something on the ground in LA?
Because everything that was hot was coming out of Atlanta at that time. So I ran the Island Def Jam office for 6 years. I was on LA Reid's team. on his A&R team. I was the assistant to the late great Shakira Stewart, and I ran the Atlanta office that whole time, which was also the HITCO office. And this was when Jay-Z was president, and we were popping, I would have to say.
Yeah.
But he just knew, LA knew because of his time he spent in Atlanta building LaFace and all the talent that he's developed here.
Yeah.
He knew that he needed to have something here. And it also because of Shakira.
Right.
Yeah.
So after Def Jam, you kind of decided that you were going to build your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you want to get into the studio?
I don't know if I wanted to get into the studio world as much as I wanted to help develop talent. And I thought the best way to attract talent and nurture talent is to have a space where they can grow and be creative. So the studio was never meant to be a studio business in the sense of like a traditional Patchworks or Tree Sound or other studios that are out there that are like, okay, we book sessions, that's what we do. I created a space, what I wanted was a family. What I wanted was an environment where people felt like they could collaborate with each other and grow talent that I wanted to grow. And so if you didn't want to, most of the time you go to a Patchworks, there's an A room and a B room. And you book in the A room and you book in the B room. The people in the A room are never gonna see the people in the B room. That's how it works. There's a door in between, you don't know who's on the other side. That's not how 12 Studios was. 12 Studios was 4 rooms, a bunch of offices in the front, and you had to see who was in that building because of the way it was structured. And I did it that way so that people could collaborate with each other.
So the truth is, Dina actually was the person who started creating this.
I agree with you.
So you let me get that.
Okay, I like that.
No, but but it's a very similar concept, but that's something that I think a lot of us realize is a need because, I started out as an artist as well. And
I'm
I
shocked.
realized
We got bars.
I realized that I wanted to be complimentary to artists a lot, like Dina, where, I wanted to help build and create sustained success. And a lot of that was because I think we recognized what the industry was lacking at that time. Because a lot of people don't talk about the late 2000s and, New York was on the decline. Label structure changed, the big label situations went away. So places like 12 became the lifeblood of the industry.
Yeah.
So you housed a lot of important situations as well. Can you tell us about some of them?
So when I built the studio, it was 4,000 square feet, 4 rooms. There was a big A room called Blueprint, and then 3 pre-production rooms is what I like to call it. And when I started the studio, when the doors opened straight away, Polo de Don was in my A room in Blueprint. And then I had Ray Daniels, who had Rock City, Tehran. I put them in the Adele 21 room. I named it after major albums so that to inspire people, and then there was also a wall full of songs that were hit songs, so that when you came in there you felt already inspired. And then we would also add to that wall every time there was a hit that was created inside the studio.
That's wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was dope. And then there was the Thriller Room, who KP had with Atlantic Records at the time. They booked that room. And then it was Purple Rain, which was my room. And that's the room I developed talent in, like ink. Cheese Beats was in that room. Yeah, a lot of people came out of there. That there was talent that I was developing and letting to use. And then also, if we did allow people to book, that was the room they were able to book in. But you were not allowed to just book the studio because we never advertised, it wasn't marketed, like I wasn't calling people like, book. It was like if you didn't know me or you didn't know somebody in the studio, you couldn't get in. But we started it with those creatives, and a lot of, like Tehran and Polo had maybe worked together before, but not in the capacity that they started working together while they were at 12. And then we had offices in the front. And the offices changed throughout, but it was the first Empire office in Atlanta, Empire Distribution. So Serge had that office. And then Vinny Kumar, who runs the publishing, had that office. We had Hughes, who I know y'all did something with earlier today, was in the office. We had Vince Phillips, one of the founders of BME and an amazing attorney in that office. We had Epic Records that booked the studio. They had a room and office space for 3 years at 12. It was the MMG headquarters for Rick Ross for many years. It was, we had, who else did I have? Who am I forgetting? MMG, Epic, Empire. I mean, we had so many people come through. I mean, Thug used to use the studio. Future came by. I mean, Usher was there. Andre 3000 came by. And then we developed, you know, there was all this new upcoming talent. I heard, and I say I heard because I didn't get to see all the people because I was running the business, but like Little Yachty, what's her name? Cody Shane was in there. Pierre Bourne learned to be an amazing engineer and producer out of my studio. He used to,
You know what's dope about Pierre? So Pierre did our VCAM. Pierre was a student at SAE.
oh yeah, that's right. So Pierre, you know, he will credit 12 for being the place that he was able to be developed, really. And he had no place to go. He used to sleep on the couch, like a lot of people did. I housed a lot of people at 12. And I'm sure the list goes on, and I can't remember all the people, but that was a main group.
And also, I remember we had an intern, 13-year-old kid.
Yes, that was a crazy story.
So,
Tell them that story.
So we get an intern.
I usually don't take 13-year-old interns.
And it's
but-
crazy because his father gave him permission to work at the studio overnight. Right? So his name's Itachi, right? So Zen comes work at the studio, really humble kid. I remember we used to do the little showcases for the interns, and I'd come listen to their beats, and you know, we give them feedback and stuff. And Zen comes in there, and he's got like this laptop, and it's like falling apart. I mean, the screen's not working. He's got FL in there, the keys are missing, and this kid was so motivated and dope. And what ended up happening was, you know, 30 Rock was working out of the spot. I think it was in Purple Rain. And so they were working on a record that became The Box. And Zentachi did the 808s on the record.
So the box was produced at 12.
12. Yeah.
So it was like Anaconda with Polo and Anonymous for Nicki Minaj. I mean, so many hits. Pour It Up for Rihanna. So many hits came out of there. But that was the purpose. So the reason, so to go back to your original question, and why did I build the studio, was to create hits and to develop talent, not to run a studio.
And you did.
And 12 years.
And then we closed it.
Thank you.
And I remember you wrote on the door, build to sell.
Build to sell.
And then you started the next chapter.
I did.
So what is build to sell? What did that mean to you?
That means that, like, when you're building, I'm a builder by nature, so I like to build things, and then I like to move on and build something else and create other visions and ideas and put them into fruition. And so you can't get too attached to one thing and one idea, and you have to be able to evolve and grow into the next phase. So it's built to sell because for a long time, that was my baby, and I never thought I would, like, let it go. But then I had, then I got on T.I.'s management team. I've been on his management team for the last 7 years, and I was traveling everywhere with him, and I couldn't really function at the studio the same way that I had been when I originally started it. So it's about evolving. You don't just, your career is never just one thing or one path. If you think you want to do something at first, and then as you go along, it grows and evolves into something else, and it's all stepping stones to the next goal or phase of your life. And so you can't just hold on to something and just drag it with you when you're trying to push yourself to go somewhere else. And I got tired of the artist. And talent is very, it's a lot of adult babysitting. I would say that 12 was also like a daycare.
It absolutely was.
It was a daycare. So dealing with talent, I mean, you guys probably don't think of yourselves as being difficult to deal with, but it's very draining. I don't know who's the talent in the room, but I would say, Juju, can you answer my phone, because she's probably at the door. Sorry, I don't know where she is. I have somebody at the door probably. Yeah. Thank you.
So let's dip into the tip world.
Okay.
I know all you guys saw Dina standing on business with Tip during the Falcons game.
Oh my God.
That was dope. The Atlanta 15 years of hip hop celebration. I was there to take help with it. So
You saw us?
Of course.
It was a very interesting night.
It was an interesting night. All the way
Very
around.
nice day.
All the way around.
Mm-hmm.
But just it's been really dope to see you make moves with and for Tip over the years. When I tell you that Dina is a master marketer and just understander of, I'm making up words, understander of people and situations, and she knows how to place, like there's an art to it, but, how has it been? I mean, I know you and Tip had a relationship for years, but when he came to you and said, hey, I need you to come be on my team, how'd that go? How'd that conversation go? What made you actually want to dip into
So that's
that?
a crazy story. So before I even jump in, I want to just see a raise of hands because I don't want to forget this, but who's been to 12 studios and actually went there before? Just raise your hand. Only a couple people in here? Okay. All right, I just wanted to see who was in the room. So with Tip, what's interesting and people don't know is that we have a 20-year relationship. So I was at Oglethorpe University and I was just getting in the game, and I worked at Def Jam South when Scarface was president, and Shaka was there, and Chingy was popping, and Luda was there. And then I got a job with Jason Jeter, who was Tip's manager at the time, and he brought me on to be his assistant. And it was right before they were in the process of creating Trap Music, the album, and right before they dropped it, I left to start a PR firm at 19 in college. And so what people don't know is that our relationship goes back all the way to that time. Tip was a young, wild talent that had gotten dropped and was rebuilding himself with 24s being out. I was at the 24s video shoot. It was crazy. And then, they were just wild. Grand Hustle, it was before Grand Hustle ever had an office and all of that. And so our relationship dates back there. So he went off to do his thing, obviously. I went off to do my thing. And then years later, he comes back and he's like, I want you back on my team. And that's when I started back working with him on his management team. So I would say it's a lot of history and it's a lot of trust that you build through those years. Especially when you see somebody, we were both young and on the rise of our careers.
I remember it was A3C, I think, 2018. There was a pop-up called the Trap Museum. And if I recall correctly, it was supposed to be temporary.
Yeah, it was in celebration of the 15-year anniversary of Trap Music, and that was 5 years ago. So it was a pop-up, and then it did so well that the Trap Music Museum stayed.
And it's still open to this day.
And it's still open. Now there's a Trap City Cafe that's right next door. Tip has bought up the block as far as real estate is concerned. And if you follow what he's doing, he also just had a ribbon cutting for his affordable housing that's on the west side in Bankhead, where he bought the Kmart lot that his grandmother used to go buy groceries from, and he rebuilt that into a affordable housing development, which is dope. So he's always reinvesting in his community, and he really does mean he loves his people, and he's about ownership and buying up the block of his block on the west side.
So I want to step away from music a little bit because you you are so much more than music, especially to the city of Atlanta.
Well, thank you.
I've seen you at quite a bit of business functions and political soirees around the city. Let's talk about your non-music functions. You know, you've been spotted with several mayors.
Several mayors.
Several mayors over the years.
I somehow I got into some politics. I don't know.
How did you get into the
I don't know.
politics?
I think it was because politics and music and entertainment all go hand in hand, guys. Like when, you know, Atlanta is not Atlanta without the music business here, that the creatives that are here. And I think that when Kasim was mayor, I actually knew Kasim back when he was an attorney, then became senator, and then became mayor. When he used to be, he used to work with Shakir as his attorney for certain things. So that's how far back I know Kasim Lee. And so it was just natural to obviously support. And now Mayor Dickens, who's doing an amazing job, I believe. You know, we help out with the campaigns and major just programs that need to happen in the city. I was part of the Invest Atlanta Creative Board, Creative Industries Board, just a lot of different things that, because once you're doing business in the city, you want it to also make sense for you and for the things that you're developing. So you have to kind of be aware and have, you know, it's important to be part of those types of things because it's important to your bottom line of your business.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you've gotten into creating your own company or your next company,
Yeah.
C&D.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about C&D and your vision for women in the industry.
Yeah, so C&D was created about 3 years ago, and it's an all-women-led branding agency. We do marketing, branding, PR for businesses and brands, but the purpose it was during the pandemic, and everybody was like reevaluating what they're doing in their lives, what's important to them, and for me, it's always been impacting and influencing younger women to be a positive role model and to do mentorship, which I never had. Coming up in a male-dominated industry with music, I only had male mentors. I never had a woman mentor. And so it was important to me to be that difference for the next generation of women leaders and to lead by example and to do that every day. So we were intentional about hiring all women to help develop their skills and for them to be able to be mentored by other women to look up to and do stuff like that. For instance, Juju, who's back there, is my mentee. She is Palestinian like me. And, you know, and she started off one way and she's grown into a whole nother thing, and now she works at one of the hottest studios in the city with Tricky Stewart at Sessions. Yeah, that's what you do. So, you know, it's all about the impact. So that was what C&D was about. Not obviously the services and the work, but it was definitely, the concept was to develop a space where minority women could get real guidance.
Because you could have done that anywhere with anybody, but you were really purposeful in your mission. And trust me, I tried to get a job at C&D. So that's cool. I'm glad you brought up Juju and your roots. You're Palestinian. You know, how important is that to you? Family, your interactions in the business, and making sure that you're representing culturally.
I feel like I'm one of the few representations for people that may not know who, you know, what a Palestinian is or where that is, you know, where you're from. Are you Palestinian?
Yep.
Amen. Okay.
Amen. Alhamdulillah, yeah.
So free Palestine. If
Free
I can say
Palestine.
that.
Amen.
But I hope that there's not a lot of us in the industry. Ghazi, Khaled, Fadia, you know, when we come in hard. We get to it.
Yes.
But I'm happy to be that representation for people so they can see. I was born in Jordan, and I came to Atlanta when I was 5. Yeah. And you know what's going on right now is very important, and I hope that you guys educate yourselves on what's happening, because it is truly a genocide, and that we need all the voices and all the support to fix what's going on, because it's a humanity issue.
Yeah, I think it's really important too that we as people, that we as minorities understand each other's struggles. And it's always been dope, you know, especially, I grew up in Philly, it's a very Muslim, Arab-centered town. So, you know, when the world went crazy after 9/11, it didn't make sense to me because I grew up with Arab people. You know what I'm saying? My family is Muslim, you know, so those things are normal to some people in the world, but for other people, there's ignorance because they don't know and there's fear. You know what I'm saying? So on a humanitarian level, for us just to be able to just talk to each other and fellowship and you know, be people who are oppressed but be together and you know, let our struggles, you know, bring us together and us to have real discussion, you know, it's really been important. So that's another thing that I've always thought, you know, was super dope about you.
Be cognizant of how things are labeled and the words that are used and the media and how it turns things and how propaganda is. You have to take it a step further and do your own research to understand what's really going on, because it's your responsibility. Because what happens is if you remain ignorant, then you have no responsibility in anything, right? But once you know the truth of something, then you are now a party to what is happening. So you are now a responsible party. And that's important.
And shout out to my brother Hatch, because they always think Hatch is a white boy. Hatch is actually...
He's not white?
No. He's actually half Armenian. And, you know,
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Folks need to, you know,
Italian Armenian.
educate themselves, because the Armenian people also went through terrible genocide.
Yeah, and there's more Armenians than just Kim Kardashian.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Anytime you see an IAN end of a name, the Armenian are serious. So this is their way.
all right,
So
so
actually, I'm sorry, I had a quick question, since you don't mind. So Dina, I think one of the challenges for a lot of new creatives is trying to find their team, right? We always preach about like finding people around you that can help you support your dream or people that believe in what you do. And you've been somebody who always, at least from what I can remember, in any endeavor you ever got into, you always built the team properly before you kind of moved on to something else. How do you go about finding the right people to surround yourself with, and how do you manage that when you have so many other things going on? How do you weigh a scale of like urgency versus importance when you're doing priorities list and whatnot?
That's a great question. So building a team is not easy. It's a trial and error thing. So you might get all these resumes, you do these interviews, and you think somebody's a good fit because of the skill set. But what I like to look for more than anything is what people are passionate about. It's more about loyalty to me than it is about skill, because I can train you and teach you things to be a proper person on our team. But if you are just trying to be here for a second and then hop over to the next thing, that's not the person I want to spend my time pouring into. And so even with the studio, whenever there was a job that came up there, we needed to hire for something, I would hire from within before I would ever go to the outside and hire.
Yeah.
So if there was interns there that were qualified, if there was people that showed me hard work, I would either promote them or hire an intern to do a job, then try to go outside. And so it's also about intuition, just like what feels right to you, because you can kind of sense when something is off with somebody. But building a team is important, because like if you're a Virgo perfectionist like we are, you want to do everything yourself. If I can duplicate myself and be the greeter at the door, be the engineer, be the producer, be the singer, I would duplicate myself to do it, because I know the job would get done.
Right.
But you can't, right? So you have to let go of the control. You have to trust other people. They may not do it the same exact way that you would do it, but as long as it gets done.
Yeah.
And so that's the important part about building a team. And because you can't, if you really want to be a leader, you really want to be a boss, you have to use your time for the things that are high level, and you can't necessarily do every single task. And so you have to relinquish that control.
Yeah, I think the most important part of that too is just leadership in general. I think people want to be around people that want to be successful. You know, when we were running High Standard, we had an amazing intern team because all the producers wanted to be down with us. They're like, okay, if I could work with these guys, I could meet people like yourself. I could be around like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
We could do something together. We had a really great turn. We had no turnover pretty much, unless we didn't want them on the team for whatever reason. But I think a lot of times we as leaders, these things are our babies, right? Like we hard blood, sweat, and tears, put hours of time into these things that we want to do. And it's very difficult to give that away a lot of times. But in order for you to expand, like Dina was saying, you need to be able to structure something out properly, build the right team around you, and then be able to move on to something else and still supervise that same thing so nothing falls through the cracks. And that's a skill set that a lot of people don't have. So I commend you for that. You've always been inspirational from that perspective because I feel like you're one of the few people that really understands what team is, and the fact that you can lead these teams and still grow the businesses that you want to, like, that's very, very difficult. So give it up for Dina for being a leader in that space.
I want to say two things to that point. One is you have to serve before you can lead.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't just wake up and become a boss and be a leader, right? I did a lot of serving, where I didn't get paid, where I didn't get the credit, where I spent hours and hours, energy, time, blood, sweat, and tears. And then knowing what it feels like to be in those serving positions, I knew that when I became a leader, I wanted to make sure that the people that were working with me were gaining something in return. It's not me directing and saying, do this, do that, and don't ask me why we're doing this, and don't ask me why we're doing that. I want to explain to you, hey, we're doing this today, and these are the reasons why we're doing that, and do you have any questions? And I want you to be learning and gaining experience and gaining those perks. People stayed at 12 because I let those interns work out of the studio. When there wasn't a session, you could go in there and practice for craft and learn. And I think that's why people stayed around, because yeah, they had a job to do, but at the same time they were gaining and there were perks with it. It's not just about going in there and just doing work.
Right. So I got one last thing. How does it feel to be celebrated? Because the reason why I say that is this has been a year of us celebrating you. There's been proclamations.
Yeah.
You're a cover girl.
Okay.
All of these cool things are happening, but you're getting your flowers. People are really looking, and we're able to look back and see your fingerprints. How does it feel to be acknowledged?
It's always nice to be acknowledged, and I receive it, and I'm very appreciative of it. And it's interesting because when you stop and look back at everything that you've done, I forget a lot of things that I've done, and people remind me of how I've helped them, or what they, with their first time at the studio, or an experience they had with me, or something that I've done for them. So I think with the 50th, there was like this surge of people wanting to celebrate you, and I'm happy to be part of that. I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to this business, and specifically to hip hop. So I'm happy. I want all my flowers.
Also, too, real quick.
Pretty well, dude.
Oh my God.
Fun fact.
This is Dina and I.
Oh,
Many moons ago.
Wow.
Mini moon.
That was
Our very first showcase
that was
here in
our
Atlanta.
first showcase
She
here in
does it.
Atlanta. And we were kids.
You was hosted.
We made many drinks in that.
That's
Mini moons, mini
Yeah,
moons.
we've aged gracefully. We're gonna recreate that photo.
Yeah. Okay. That's
What
dope.
you got, Ash?
No, I was gonna say, your random fun fact. She actually judged our first showcase here. We had such a we drove from New Jersey. I don't want to tell the whole story because I'm sensitive with my shit. We had experience just getting here. It was our first time driving as a company. We had like 5 people in the car. It was like just a mess. Like just people forgot their bag. Sis forgot his bag in Philly. He had to go back to Philly to get his bag. Like, it was just a mess.
No. Hold on. We didn't have to drive back from here to Philly. So we were in New York.
Right.
And
We just got to go to the
I was
show.
in New York, so we had to go to Philly.
Still 2 hour drive.
On the way to Atlanta. We drove all the way to Atlanta from New York. So.
Right, so we get there, and it's actually right up the block from we were at today at SAE, the Hard Rock Cafe.
Yep.
They had a little like back venue or like performance venue. So first show in Atlanta, we literally pull up to the event, and we're supposed to start at that time. Right, we're not set up, we got nothing going on, nobody's music, producers don't know what's going on. So we had Talib Kweli judge,
Yeah, that was fun.
we had Needles judge,
Yep.
and then we had Dina, who was
And we
fresh
had,
out of
Bob
Def Jam,
Celestin.
Bob Celestin as well. And we literally, all of a sudden, Talib Kweli's performing. We're like, what the hell's going on? Is this really our show?
What was the girl from Day 26? Not Day 26. Danny Kane. She was there too.
Yeah.
The one I
I can't remember what the event, it was like an event before ours, and I think
Yeah.
we kind of all stuck around. But
They would.
Dina's been rocking with us literally for, I don't want to age any of us, but we did our first show in Atlanta about 14 years ago. Yeah, about
That's that
14 or
long
so
ago.
years, yeah. So we've been doing this
Wasn't
for
I
a
taking
minute.
the place of Shakir because he was supposed to be the judge, or was
Yes,
I?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was filling in for Shakir because I think he had to go out of town or something like that. I just have to say to you both, you guys have been so solid for a very long time with me. I just appreciate, even thinking of me to do this, and it's such a nice, what is it, full circle moment.
Yeah.
And I just have to say another thing to you, Hatch, like, watching your health journey and you being vulnerable and putting that out there is so important and big. And I'm just very
Motivation for purposes only. Right?
It works.
It's all family and warm moments over here. Y'all sense the theme here?
Yeah.
But
and we're happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
we got a thing for you.
Okay.
And I want to unbox this. So right here. So this is our FLWRS Award, and it's issued to Dina Marto, PowHERful Executive.
Oh, I see.
So
What you did there.
PowHERful.
Go ahead. Yes, PowHERful Executive. Go ahead. Let you hold that.
Okay.
Hopefully you can find a room.
Amongst other awards, right?
All of these spaces.
Thank you.
No, we appreciate you. So please give it up for